Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News at 5 starts now.
A grandmother in Romulus is devastated after her 2-month-old grandson passed away, and police are calling his death suspicious.
And developing right now, tenants of the Russell Industrial Center get some good news, but it comes with a catch.
But first, he picked the wrong car to steal. A man opens fire after seeing someone drive off in his car. It all went down early this morning at a gas station right near the GM Tech Center over in Warren.
The owner of that car was stopping to get gas, and when he saw the car driving off, he pulled out a gun and started firing. Sean Lay has been following this story for us, and Sean, that ended it pretty quickly.
Ended quickly. Now both men may be charged. Look, the man inside paying at the counter, his car right here at pump number 7, it's still running. He sees someone jumping in and taking off with his car. He runs outside, starts firing shots. The car is driven into a light pole there at the end of the parking lot. The man behind the wheel shot 2 times. Now the shooter, the owner of the car, facing some intense scrutiny. At 4 this morning, a 23-year-old man from Warren walking home from work sees a red Dodge Challenger running with no one in it at the Marathon gas station at 12 and Van Dyke. He is likely cold, so he makes a snap decision to try to drive off in that car. The car's owner, a 24-year-old man from Detroit, he is in the gas station and sees what is happening, and he runs outside. The gas station clerk tells us what happened next.
He pulled off a gun and he shot him twice.
Sources say that car owner fired through the back window of his car, hitting the suspected car thief twice. One shot hitting the man in the neck, the other hitting him square in the back. The gunshot victim was able to run to the apartment of his girlfriend's brother, and he rushed him to the hospital.
I was just trying to hurry up and get him there. She was trying to make sure he didn't fall asleep or anything.
But what about the gunman, the car's owner? Was he protecting his property? He holds a concealed carry permit, but his life may not have been in danger when he opened fire. The question is the shooting lawful or unlawful?
The information is very, very preliminary, and the investigation is really in its infancy stage. As we're able to recover surveillance video and talk to witnesses, we'll be able to make a better determination for what we submit to the Macomb County prosecutor.
In fact, we're told this camera caught everything and will tell prosecutors and investigators a lot. Only those investigators in the gas station having a hard time getting that video out of the system. They're going to have an expert come by tomorrow, a technician, and have better look. Look, the guy shot who's taking that car still in the hospital tonight. We're told he is not in good shape at all. The man who fired those shots, the car owner, spoke to police for some time. He is cooperating. He was released, is not charged at this hour while prosecutors still review the case. Jason.
Well, just like that, Sean, every time something like this happens, people talk about what the law says about citizens using that lethal force. What have you found out in that regard today?
Yeah, lethal force pretty clear here. It says that you have to be protecting yourself or someone else from an imminent threat of death or injury. That's why this case is getting so much scrutiny here, because the car was being driven away from the shooter.
Yeah, we'll see what prosecutors say about it. All right, Sean Lay, thanks.
Developing right now, a short time ago, the city of Detroit says tenants over at the Russell Industrial Center can return to the complex. If you recall, it was My Defender's special investigation that revealed all the dangerous conditions that were going on inside. Now, of course, that still needs to be addressed. Jamie Edmonds joins us live with the very latest. And Jamie, the owner needs to get to work on making these corrections very quickly.
Yes, Karen, that's right. There are timelines, but the city decided today that the people can continue to work there for now. About a dozen artists packed a small conference room at City Hall this afternoon, waiting for word from the city on the fate of the Russell Industrial Center. Today, they got some good news.
Those opposed? Opposed. Okay.
Opposed, keep.
Motion carries.
The city came to a consent agreement with the owner of the building. He agrees to correct violations. The tenants get to stay there while the work is done. Music to Mark Watto's ears. He's been at Russell for 29 years.
It's just been a great stay there, and it's a place that lets you explore your creativity, and I'm glad that they got into a consent agreement today.
For the city, safety was of utmost concern.
He's entered into a consent agreement which we believe has reachable timelines and harsh penalties if he does not reach those timelines.
So what does the agreement include? Well, there are many parts, but the main points are: the owner will provide a fire watch for the occupied buildings 1 and 2, 24/7 certified by the fire marshal. Emergency violations must be corrected no later than March 20th. Essential violations must be completely repaired by April 1st. Sprinkler systems must be corrected and passed. The plans need to be completed for the fire system within 60 days. The lead architect for the building believes they will get the work done in the time frame provided.
I think we came up to an agreement. It's workable. We'll be able to meet all those deadlines.
Yes, and he said he believes that the building is safe. Now, it's important to note that the fire marshal objected to letting people continue to work there as this work is getting done. But I talked to the director of the Building Safety, Engineering, and Environmental Department, and he believes what they are doing is making this building safe. And if the owner doesn't comply, he can fine him. He can do a lot of things. They're going to wait and see and make sure this owner does what needs to be done. Live outside City Hall, Jamie Edmonds, Local 4.
All right, thank you, Jamie. A funeral home on the city's east side is cleaning up after a car went through the side of it.
Take a look. That hole there, that is where the car went in. Police say 3 men were driving a vehicle they carjacked when they hit a 60-year-old man, crashing him into the funeral home.
It sounded like the building was exploding. It came through with such great force, and the funeral director let us know that they had just ended the funeral in that room.
The 3 men then hit his car, got out and ran off, and you heard him say that a funeral had just ended. Well, there was a viewing going on in another room, but no injuries were reported. The Wayne County Prosecutor's Office confirms tonight a warrant request has been submitted in the suspicious death of a toddler in Romulus.
That comes after police questioned the baby's father about injuries to the child, and the story just didn't add up. Well, now the baby's grandmother is talking. Coco McAvoy spoke to her just a short time ago. Coco, what is she saying?
Karen and Jason, the boy's grandmother, Joyce Marvin, says the little boy died from severe injuries. She is heartbroken, devastated, and angry that her grandson died in such a terrible way.
It's my baby. Forever. My heart.
Photos now the only way Joyce Marvin can see the face of her grandson, Cameron Johnson.
And I told him my husband passed away. And I told him, I said, Cameron, after all these years, Grandma's got her a new man. And at that particular moment, I was sitting in that chair there, and he grinned, and you could see the little dimple coming out. I got a picture of that.
Police say the baby boy died on February 21st. He suffered from a fractured skull, a contusion on his forehead, and broken ribs.
He was critical then. Massive brain injury.
Marvin wasn't home at the time, but says the boy's 18-year-old father was, and called police saying the baby was having trouble breathing.
He was alone with the baby in my house. He was the only one here.
Baby Johnson was taken to 2 different hospitals before being pronounced dead.
I'm full of anger. This baby that was 2 months old didn't have to suffer at all.
As police investigate the case, Marvin continues to grieve and struggles with the fact that her beloved grandson, Cameron Johnson, is now gone.
No, he's not here to hold, he's not here to love, he's not here to get spoiled, he's not here to anything.
A warrant request was submitted to the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office, and they did review the warrant, and they sent it back to the police department for further investigation. Reporting live this afternoon, I'm Coco McAvoy, Local 4, back to you.
Well, while police investigate this 18-year-old father, have you found out, has there been any other kind of trouble from him before, any domestic violence cases or things like that?
Yes, so the family tells me that they have filed multiple police reports against the 18-year-old father, saying that he moved into the house with them shortly after baby Cameron was born, and that they had a number of problems with him and even tried to evict him, but they never thought something like this would happen.
All right, we'll see what the Romulus Police Department comes up with and then what the prosecutor decides. Thank you, Coco.
Well, don't let that sunshine fool you. Man, it's cold out there, but it is the weekend. We're getting into the weekend.
That's right, it is.
We need a little warm up.
It's a cold weekend. Andrew's in for Ben tonight. The sun was beautiful out there, but it would be nice if it warmed up a bit.
Karen and Jason, you're absolutely right. And a good start to the weekend so far with mostly dry conditions. You can see these scattered snow showers diminish as we speak. And we're looking at some blue skies overhead in some areas. Nice looking shot of the water, but temperatures You guessed it, below freezing. This is the cold that Karen and Jason were talking about. And it feels even colder when you factor in the winds. I mean, temperatures are in the 20s in all 4 of our zones, but wind chills in the teens. 14 is what it feels like in Lapeer. So bundle up if you're going out this evening. I mean, it's 23 in Port Huron. Always got you covered there. Same thing downriver and down toward Monroe, where it's now 29. But those winds, even though they're lighter than yesterday, still making it feel like it's around 11, 12, or just 19 degrees. But overnight tonight and into tomorrow especially, we'll see some higher temperatures tomorrow afternoon and Sunday. We'll talk more about that in a few minutes.
One arrest has been made in the FBI as the FBI investigates a wave of threats against Jewish community centers across the country.
31-year-old Juan Thompson, a former journalist in Missouri, was arrested for allegedly making 8 threats against multiple Jewish organizations, including the Anti-Defamation League in Manhattan. Police say he made the threats in his ex-girlfriend's name in a retaliation scheme. The league held a press conference to discuss the arrest.
Just because there's been an arrest today around our bomb threat does not mean that the threats have disappeared or will stop. Hate towards the Jewish community and other minority groups is very real.
About 100 threats were made to centers in 33 states. The league says leaders should speak against anti-Semitism and put an action plan in place for the future.
Scientists from around the world on Belle Isle looking for a bizarre creature.
New tonight, what this creepy-looking thing is and why scientists from as far away as Ecuador came to check it out. Doc.
2 illnesses are dominating the air this week. I'm Dr. Frank McGeorge. I'll show you what's going around that is making so many people sick.
Well, now that Detroit and Hamtramck and Highland Park's boiled water order is over,
we admit we need to coordinate a little closer.
What can they do to get the word out better? That's what they're looking at. They had a hearing at Detroit City Council today. The latest ahead.
New at 6.
A local high school hockey coach accused of carrying on a sexual relationship with an underage student. New at 6, the difference in their ages and who alerted police that something was wrong.
When you put a security camera on your home, you never know exactly when it might come in handy. Here in Warren, one camera helped lead police to a serial home invasion suspect.
Better to be lucky than good, but if you're good, you increase your chances of being lucky.
He's hit 29 times, homes and businesses, and only Local 4 has video of him in action.
All right, John, good news for folks living in parts of Detroit, Hamtramck, and Highland Park. We've been waiting for this.
We still have the bottled water in the hallway, though. After 3 days, that boil water advisory has been lifted. If you live in the area that was affected and are just getting home, you'll want to run your tap until the water turns cold. Then keep it running for 2 minutes just to make sure everything is cleared out. Let's get right out to Rod Maloney, who's live today. And Rod, as you've been saying for today and yesterday, all those tests came back clear, but still a lot of questions.
Oh, yeah. You know, the biggest one, Jason, is what did anybody know? When did they know it? And even the larger question is, why didn't anybody else know about it? That's the attitude that the city council had today, because you had the Great Lakes Water Authority. You also had Detroit Water Department, Water and Sewer Department. And Brenda Jones, the president of the city council, was saying, come on, guys, we didn't know anything.
Wednesday morning, I started receiving calls asking me what was going on, and I had no idea. The first thing I did was call Gary Brown.
She wanted a timeline on what happened, and here it is from the Great Lakes Water Authority. Tuesday, 4:50 p.m., the incident with the pumps turning off and pressure falling. By 5:07, corrective measures were taken. The pumps returned to working order shortly thereafter. By 7:56, the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality was brought in, and by 8:40 p.m. had decided a boil water order to be issued. A press release went out shortly thereafter by GLWA. CEO Sue McCormick admits the rollout wasn't a finer moment.
We know that communications can be improved, and we're certainly committed to working with DWSD and with the city and with the council to make sure that we are all satisfied that the protocols in the future will address any of the concerns that we had during this incident.
Detroit Water Department Chief Gary Brown says that he's looking for a different and better idea for any future problems.
We should have probably set up a hotline of some sort for all media, all businesses, schools, hospitals, anyone that was affected, all residents, so that there's one point of contact if you're getting calls, we got one number to get out. We have a scripted message from the both of us.
Andrew Humphreys.
Part of the problem here is that these two entities were formed as part of Detroit's bankruptcy. And so what happens here is that the Great Lakes Water Authority says, okay, there's going to be a boil water notice put out, but they don't put it out. It has to be done by the customers. So Detroit Water and Sewer, Highland Park, Hamtramck have to do a separate press release. And it took time for that to happen. Detroit's didn't go out until about 10:45. That's what Gary Brown said. And so they're going to be working on that now to try and make these more coordinated efforts if something like this happens in the future. Back to you.
All right, Rod. Well, you know, when would we might know a little bit more about how they're going to do that?
Well, Gary Brown said that they're working on a plan now. They know they've got to do something because it has to be more effective and more widespread in terms of getting the word out to everybody. And so they figure in the next week or two, they'll have that plan ready to present to City Council.
All right. Sounds good. All right, Rod, thanks.
Andrew is in for Ben on this nice Friday evening, and we're knocking on the weekend, and it looks like a nice forecast.
Oh, it certainly does. But you saw with Rod outdoors.
He's wearing those earmuffs.
Yeah, you still need the winter coat. You still a little snow behind them, and so we're still looking at cold conditions for now. But we're snow-free throughout the rest of the weekend, and even some higher temperatures. Higher than today. Only 29 the high temperature today. 40 is the average high, so temperatures 11 degrees below average. And, of course, far away from the record high of 67 degrees set back in 1967. Here's a look at four-zone weather and low temperatures for tonight. Now, it does get colder again. We started off in the teens this morning. Same thing by tomorrow morning. 17 will be the low temperature in West Bloomfield. Rest of the metro zone, middle and upper teens for the most part as well. Maybe some low 20s, upper teens in our south zone, south of Michigan Avenue. Lambertville, maybe around 21 degrees overnight, between 19 and 22 in Lenawee County. No matter how you slice it, it's going to be cold all around. So make sure those heaters are working. Make sure the pets are back indoors. 20 degrees for low temperature overnight for our friends in Milford. North of Hall Road in our north zone, same sort of deal. A little bit colder, in fact. Maybe low and middle teens in places like Oxford, Imlay City, around 12 to 14 degrees, and winds making it feel colder. Like maybe it's in the single digits by tomorrow morning. We're looking at 29 currently, and wind chills are running in the teens with a wind of just 15 miles per hour. I say just because they certainly are lighter than yesterday and the day before. Thank goodness for that. But still, you don't want to bundle up, whether you're in your communities to our north, like in Oxford or northern portions of Macomb County and Livingston County, or just to our south. It's below freezing everywhere with temps between 23 and 29 degrees. And the wind's not helping. 15-mile-per-hour wind over at Metro. 13, 12-mile-per-hour wind over in Pontiac, making it feel like it's around 11 or 14 if you're going out to dinner tonight. Fortunately, some of the snow showers that were around earlier this afternoon, and there have only been a few, they've been north of 8 Mile, north of Hall Road. They're all either moving off to the east or diminishing or both. So we're in for a dry night tonight, including a dry evening for your dinner plans. Now look at temperatures just to our west. A little bit higher than here, 33 in Chicago, 35 in Indianapolis. That will be for tomorrow afternoon. Near 50 or more, farther south and west, maybe not 50 degrees exactly on Sunday, but middle and upper 40s, that's what we can expect as we round out the weekend. High pressure remains in control. Any clouds to our west diminish, and we'll see mostly sunny skies tomorrow. And that milder air to our south and west, it continues to flow in here, but especially on Sunday and for early next week. 17 degrees overnight, fair skies overhead, wind chills anywhere from 5 to 15 degrees. So again, make sure those heaters are working. By tomorrow morning when you join me on Local 4 News Today, we'll bottom out around 17 degrees. But we make it to 33 degrees by 4 p.m. and we're looking at dry conditions for all your outdoor plans if you have any. Sunday looking milder, 49 for a high. I know a few golf fans that will make it out there on the links. Then as we go into Monday and Tuesday, warmer, but a chance of rain, not snow once again, with highs in the 50s to around 60 before it gets a little chillier end of next week.
At 60 looks nice.
No. Very nice. Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah.
Tracy.
Good afternoon. I'm Tracy Potts in Washington. President Trump defends his attorney general for meeting with Russia's ambassador and points the finger at Democrats.
This is Tim Pamplin along the Detroit River with a group of scientists are on the hunt for the most bizarre creature. A Charles Darwin-esque fish-like creature with legs and feet and toes. How bizarre.
This thing right here, see this guy swimming around that Karen loves? That's a mud puppy. I'm not sure if they're good eating or not. But they live in the Great Lakes. They're like salamanders, but a lot slimier, as you saw, a little bit creepier.
I think they're a little creepy, right? Well, today on Belle Isle, people from zoos as far away, I should say, as Ecuador were there to do some mud puppy research. Tim Pamplin got to tag along.
He's right behind you.
Ooh.
As the wind howls up the Detroit River, a group of scientists gather on the banks of Belle Isle, including a very bundled up Maria Teresa. She's from Ecuador, one of a handful of foreign amphibian experts on the hunt for the mud puppy, an unusual looking character native to the Great Lakes. You catch one of these on your fishing line, you'll be a little startled.
A lot of people mistake it for a fish.
But upon closer inspection, with its feet, it's clearly not a fish.
It is a salamander. So a salamander is a type of amphibian. They look very much like lizards, but they've got the slimy skin of a frog.
This is the 7th year for this study. Ruth tells me the population is healthy, which is good. It means our drinking water is too. They catch the salamander and then scan the body for an ID chip. This one doesn't have one. It's going to get one right now in its tail. It's then released back into the chilly Detroit River to go about its day. None the worse for wear. I asked Ruth, why is this study so important?
Amphibians are kind of a marker for how the environment is doing, and in turn it can tell us, how healthy the water is for human supply.
In the very frigid Detroit River today, Tim Pamplin, Local 4.
Look at Tim getting in there for that camera shot.
I know.
Wouldn't you rather be out there, little
and hang out with
exclusive?
some of those mud puppies? I think he did a good job.
Much more coming up.
New at 5:30.
Church leader charged.
This pastor is not above the law.
What prosecutors say he didn't do that directly led to the death of his young granddaughter. They may be smiling, but the charges they're facing are deadly serious. How these two may be connected to a missing teen and what a satanic ritual may have to do with it.
A memorial growing outside of the apartment unit where a 10-year-old girl passed away in a fire. Her grandmother speaking emotionally today, and the community devastated.
It's dinner time. Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News at 5:30 starts now.
Not enough time. The grandmother of a 10-year-old girl killed in an apartment fire talks about